This is CBC Here and Now.
A student here at Memorial University has been charged with sexual assault, and his alleged victim says she still has to see him on campus, why she says the university hasn't done enough.
Some communities are calling it a crisis. I'll tell you how short-term rentals are impacting housing in this province coming up on Here and Now.
It's party time in Clarenville, just a 2-hour drive up the Trans-Canada Highway from St. John's and just north of Come By Chance.
Well, it was a wild weekend at White Hills. The small ski resort was crowned Canada's most invested community ski hill and took home a grand prize of $100,000. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Nurses have more power tonight to treat patients. They will now be allowed to order tests and prescribe some drugs, and government is trying to make it easier for nurses who arrive here from elsewhere. Here and Now's Peter Cowan is covering this story today and joins me now live from our newsroom. So Peter, what will these changes mean?
Well, Carolyn, this is designed to make it easier for people who may not have access to a doctor, for example, to get some care. So, for example, in northern Labrador, the clinics are staffed by nurses. The closest family doctor is in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Now, when someone comes in looking for birth control, or for example, if they need medication to help with a wound, a nurse may be able to write that prescription. Now, it's going to require more training courses before those nurses are allowed to use those skills. The head of the College of Nurses says there are many specialized nurses who are well equipped to use these new powers.
We have clinics out in public health, sexual health clinics that are out in different areas. Women's health is another area. We're maybe doing some diagnostic tests and procedures. Communicable disease control. Lots of opportunities where there are areas, even genetic treatments and management. So these areas where nurses now probably work tight in a team, see clientele, have specialized knowledge and experience. They would have to have experience in the area, and they would, be able to expand upon that and work through this.
Now, one of the big issues facing nurses right now is a shortage of them, but there are some other changes that government is hoping will address that issue. So for nurses who are new to the province and don't have enough hours, or they've left the profession and now want to come back, there's a new program where they can be supervised until they have enough experience to work on their own. The health minister says he expects a lot of demand for this program.
We fully expect to have hundreds of nurses from India come to this province. It should help in cases with those nurses as well in terms of prescribing and referring.
With some estimates putting the number of people without a family doctor at more than 1 in 5, these changes are designed to try and take the stress off an overburdened healthcare system. And the province is expecting to make even more changes. Tomorrow, the Premier and Health Minister are announcing changes to allow pharmacists to be able to do more work as well. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Peter Cowan for Here and Now.
A student at Memorial University has been charged with sexual assault, but the alleged victim says she still has to see him on campus. She's speaking out tonight about how she says the university has handled her case and how it's affected her education. CBC Investigates reporter Ariana Kelland has more, but first a warning: this story includes details of sexual violence, and we have altered the student's voice to protect her identity.
I can't even describe how painful it is to see him, and the fear, the paranoia of having to go to school, and having to see this man that did so many hurtful and painful things to me. It's awful.
We can't identify this student, but we can tell you she's 18, and in September she had just started her first year at Memorial University. She says everything changed shortly after meeting a 20-year-old male student 2 weeks into classes. Their apparent friendship changed lunchtime on September 16th when they met on campus.
He mentioned that he had left the project at his house and that he needed to go get it. He asked if I wanted to walk with him because it was straight across from campus, and it was like a 2-minute walk.
When they got to his house, she says he insisted she come inside, brought her to his room, locked the door, choked, and sexually assaulted her.
He's got really angry after that. When I started trying to resist what he was doing, he got very angry.
She says she unlocked the door and got away and found her friends.
I was pretty much in shock, but my friends, helped calm me down. And then when they asked me, what I was going to do about what had happened, I said I was too scared to do anything, but they helped me understand that I needed to speak up about it.
She came here that afternoon to Munn's sexual harassment office.
She was very cold with me and gave me a very general response. She just said to me that, it's very unfortunate, but these things happen and there was only a little bit that they could do about it. They could give the man a printed out copy of a complaint that I would write for them, and just hope that in response he would not act out again.
Munn's sexual harassment office turned down an interview request with CBC News, but the university did answer questions from CBC in email. They say that the office wants every student who comes forward to feel supported and that it regrets that this student feels that way. Dissatisfied, she left and went to the police. She says they reacted much differently and charged the student with choking during a sexual assault, and assault. Then 2 months later, he was charged again with breaching conditions to stay away from her. He's due in court later this month to enter a plea. The student and her father have been in contact with University President Vian Timmons. They want the student off campus so she doesn't have to see him there.
When I mentioned this to her, she said that there's not much that they can do. That's sort of the police's job, and she would talk with her legal, see what could be done. The only thing I really got out of it was a parking permit, so I no longer had to pass this house every day on the way to school.
Vian Timmons is on leave and did not respond to CBC's emails, but the university says it does have a policy on sexual assault and sexual harassment. They say that students can file a complaint. Discipline can range from educational sessions to expulsion. Officials say in this case, interim measures are in place. The accused student can only come to Munn for classes and exams. But that essentially mirrors the court order that's already in place. And for this student, it doesn't go far enough. She feels she's suffered for it.
I can no longer get my proper education because of what happened, but he can after doing that to me.
Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, with the first couple of days of April, we've said goodbye to them. We also talk about how much snow fell through March. And as far as that's concerned, across the island anyway, particularly the eastern half of the island in St. John's, 70.4 centimeters of snow has fallen now over the last couple of days. We've seen quite a bit of that gone. Only about 30 centimeters is on the ground at the moment. But you can see pretty much everywhere else has seen below normal snowfall, so quite the difference for St. John's. But if we take a look at what's happening outside right now, you can see there's not a whole lot of snow. Corner Brook certainly has some there, and you saw some today as well through Rocky Harbor, but it's not sticking. That's the good thing about what happens in March and April. If you take a look at this though, still winter in Blacktickle. This was just about an hour ago now. Still seeing some blizzard-like conditions that will generally taper off though as we head through at least the next couple of hours. We're looking at those pretty strong winds though for that area in Blacktickle, about 80 to 100 kilometers per hour, but that will ease. And we'll certainly see that as we head through the day tomorrow as well. I'll get into the full forecast details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, starting today, traffic fines will see a steep increase. The province says the harsher fines are to support efforts to deter dangerous driving. $100 has been added to existing fines for speeding over the limit or through construction or school zones. As well, fines for racing vehicles or bicycles on the highway or performing stunts while driving have also increased by $100. Well, finding housing, especially affordable housing, has become more difficult in parts of the province. Some are blaming an influx of short-term rentals like Airbnbs, but others say the issue is more complicated. Here Now's Daryl Roberts has that story.
Really beautiful.
Last year, Bethany McKenzie moved into this coastal Bonavista home after getting a job at an art gallery. But soon, she'll have to find another place to stay.
And this is usually a vacation home in the summertime. So I'm living here in the off season, and now I have a lease here at least until the end of May. And then after that, I have to find something else because they have bookings here.
So far, she hasn't had much luck.
I viewed a house yesterday. And that was a 3-bedroom house, and that person told me she had over 20 people message her as well regarding that, and that was like a marketplace listing that was up. Like in 5 minutes I messaged her, and then she got back to me an hour later, and she was already like, I have a really big response.
Mackenzie says it's frustrating that housing is so hard to find.
I am a young person who's trying to make a career in rural Newfoundland. Like, I want to be here and I want to work here, but it's really discouraging when you have so many obstacles facing you that are like preventing you from doing so. So like, I mean, if I'm like houseless this summer, like, and I'm camping, you know, that's like not an ideal situation to be like working in and building your career.
According to the mayor of Bonavista, Mackenzie's situation isn't uncommon.
There are businesses that cannot recruit. We have nurses, social workers, teachers that have tried to move into the community in recent years. There's no housing for them.
The town council is blaming short-term rentals, like Airbnb, the result of Bonavista's tourism boom. John Norman himself owns several of them. On Friday, the town introduced new regulations to limit the growth of short-term rentals. But that interference isn't sitting well with at least one Airbnb owner on the Bonavista Peninsula.
But this is my livelihood. This is how I support my family. I mean, without that, I wouldn't be here in Newfoundland. If I had a halt to what I do right now, I would not be able to be here in Newfoundland. My 2 young sons and I would probably be back in Alberta.
A St. John's housing advocate says short-term rentals aren't necessarily to blame for the housing shortage, but neighborhoods like this one, with a higher concentration, do see a bigger impact.
So it does really change the fabric of neighborhoods from a social standpoint. It also increases the economic value of land in amenity-rich neighborhoods like downtown. So it means that you get really high rents in a specific area, which wouldn't be reflected in the sort of overall average rent numbers.
The provincial government has promised to regulate the short-term rental industry. On March 10th, a tourism department spokesperson said those regulations will come into effect in the coming weeks, but they have yet to be revealed. Daryl Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, now to the Port-au-Port Peninsula. Classes resumed today at École Sainte-Anne in the community of Mainland. The French school was closed for most of last week due to a water supply issue. The school says Mainland still faces challenges with water. Until further notice, the town's water will be shut off daily from 7:30 p.m. to 5 a.m. to ensure there will be sufficient water the next day. The water supply has been a contentious topic in Mainland as World Energy GH2 begins work on a potential wind project in the area. Now, despite protesters' concerns, the Provincial Environment Department says the water is cleared for drinking. In a statement to CBC News, World Energy GH2 says the local service district has refused offers of help with their overall water supply. Well, it's official. White Hills Resort in Clarenville is Canada's most invested ski hill. On Saturday night, it was revealed that White Hills had bested the other 2 resorts in the running for the $100,000 prize. Here Now's Jeremy Eaton was there for the big announcement.
Canada's most invested ski community and the winner of Mackenzie Top Peak 2023 is
White Hills Resort from Clarenville, Newfoundland.
We just won $100,000. What does that mean to you?
Oh my gosh, it means everything to this community and to what we can do here at the White Hills. It's just phenomenal. I just feel amazing. It's a lot of hard work. A lot of people were in the background doing a lot of things, and we got money now to put some dreams into action, and it's just a phenomenal feeling that we've had so much support from the entire province.
I can't describe how much this means to us. This money will allow us to do things that we would like to do as opposed to things that we have to do. And part of the focus is to improve the customer experience and to try to make it easier for people to come on our hill and to get lift passes, to rent skis and enjoy the day. So this is something that we're just ecstatic about.
It's shown us that spirit is live and well, that's for sure. And we know that with Anywhere, if there's something that we can get people behind with a common goal, people come out and support us, and this is no different, but people have come out tenfold, nowhere near what I expected to happen.
What's your favorite part about coming to White Hills on the weekends with your parents and your family and your friends?
Probably the snowboarding, because you just get outside and get active.
Oh, it's pretty cool. When you can like go after school, so it's easy to access.
It's really welcoming for families. It's a little intimidating to think about, packaging up your kids to get out to do something, especially if they've never done it before, if we've never done it before. The staff's really friendly. The people in the rental shop are great. The ski school staff is awesome. They're great with kids. And it just makes for a great day out. We have a great day.
Probably the chairlift.
Why do you like the chairlift so much? That's my least favorite part.
Because it's high.
It's high. What's your take on snowboarding here at White Hills?
I really like it. I'm a fan of it.
Love coming out here. I mean, this is kind of our backyard. We live in St. John's, but we have a place out here, so it's great to be able to come out, take the kids to experience this, to overcome challenges and fears, and it really helps build kids with character and confidence.
So we're absolutely going to need the workers in the short term, but those workers deserve to know that there's a plan that creates a job for them forever, for a long time.
The leader of the NDP was in town today to talk about the federal budget, including the topic of oil and gas. Coming up after the break, Jagmeet Singh speaks with reporter Peter Cowan.
Well, there's a few flurries showing up on the radar for the West Coast. There is a little bit more on the way, but don't worry, it won't last too long. I'll have the details coming up.
The Tucker family thought they were doing the right thing, moving their dad into long-term care. But with frequent calls home and a lack of trained staff, they feel his care is lacking.
My dad was a proud man. He took care of us, he took care of all of his family, and now he can't take care of himself.
We return to our Concerning Care series tomorrow on Here and Now.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. Bonus prize deadline is midnight, Thursday, April 6th. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Well, how is this for a sign of spring? Yes, the Loop at Bannerman Park in St. John's officially closed today for the season.
Yeah, the city says the rising temperatures mean it's time to pack up the skates and melt the ice.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look like spring out there right now with all of the snow, but some of the temperatures have been spring-like, especially when the sun comes out.
When the sun is out, it is nice and warm. Yes, for sure. Yeah, I said a little bit earlier, though, 30 centimeters still on the ground here in St. John's officially.
That's a lot.
Obviously, piles of snow much higher than that.
Yes, definitely. And there are other signs of spring, right?
There certainly are. Take a look at this. This is my favorite sign of spring, when the crocuses start blooming. Obviously not in St. John's because ours are very much covered in snow. But Connie shared this great shot with us, and I can't wait till they start, that's for sure. Temperatures, you know, today didn't feel all that spring-like, but with the sun, it felt a lot nicer, about 0 degrees in St. John's. Today, the hot spot was in Mary's Harbor, actually, at +3 today. And then temperatures up across the rest of Labrador, still in the minus single digits for the most part. Happy Valley Goose Bay hovered around the 0 degree mark for most of the day. Now, taking a look at that area of low pressure, that's why we're still seeing those blizzard-like conditions at times, just blowing snow really at this point in Black Tickle. But as that low continues to pull away, we are going to see that wind ease, and then that will be pretty much the end of that. The snow will end as well. We do have some of those cooler temperatures in place at the moment, though, dropping down to the minus single digits across the Big Land and then across the island as well, down to about -1 in St. John's at the moment. Now, taking a look at the current satellite and radar, just a few flurries happening along the west coast. Now, the radar, St. John's radar anyway, Holyrood is down and will be hopefully, will hopefully be up, I should say, in the next couple of days. But at the moment right now, we do just have that satellite, lots of cloud cover starting to move in, but still lots of sunshine across parts of the northeast coast there around Gander and the Bonavista Peninsula. Now, as we head through the night tonight, that flurry activity will still continue along the west coast. In fact, we're going to see some more snow move in through overnight, with the chance of some light snow for the southwestern corner of the island. That will spread north and east as we get into the early morning hours. We actually may see some of this stick as those temperatures are going to be fairly chilly tonight, into the minus single digits for most of the island. Winds will be a bit gusty, between 20 to as much as 40 kilometers per hour up across Labrador. The coldest will be in the west at -16, generally light winds for you, and then a few flurries still possible for northern portions of Labrador. Now, as we head through the day tomorrow, we will see the chance of flurries pretty much right through the morning across the island, and then that will taper off as we head into the afternoon hours. Conditions will still stay cloudy, though. We will see some sun up across Labrador, and then another round of showers or flurries or showers possible along the northeast coast as we head into the afternoon evening hours. And then the flurries will continue in the higher elevations on the west coast as the temperatures are a little bit cooler, because really the rest of the island should see those temperatures well above 0 tomorrow. Now, as far as accumulations are concerned, take this with a grain of salt, because most of this won't stick, but we could see upwards of about 5 to 10 centimeters in those areas along the west coast, south coast, higher elevations. The best chance of seeing the most snow, and by higher elevations, I'm talking along the long range mountains. Temperatures tomorrow, like I said, are going to be well above 0, 3 to 5 degrees. Winds a bit brisk as well out of the southwest, between 30 to 50 kilometers per hour as you head towards central. 3, 4, 5 degrees for you as well. Same thing for the west coast. Now, the further higher you get in that elevation, the temperatures are colder, which is why this should fall as snow. Your winds will be out of the southwest between 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Now, northern peninsula, you should see some sunshine tomorrow, which will be nice. Same thing for southeastern Labrador. It looks like a pretty much carbon copy day for those of you in Mary's Harbour with that temperature around 3 degrees. Winds out of the west between 20 to 40. And then for the rest of the big land, like I said, some snow will move in for Lab City. A nice sunshine day for you today, but you will see cloudy skies tomorrow. And your winds will be out of the northwest around 20 kilometers per hour. Now temperatures do dip quite a bit in the overnight periods, but we are looking at the warm up. I'll get into details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, turning now to politics. The NDP leader was in town today talking about the items that he likes in the federal budget. Jagmeet Singh was at a roundtable discussion talking about how dental care will be covered for children and seniors. And he announced that former Federation of Labor President Mary Shortall will serve as his advisor in Newfoundland and Labrador. Now, Singh has ties to this province. He lived in St. John's as a child before his parents moved away when he was 9 years old. He stopped by our studio earlier this afternoon to speak with Here and Now's Peter Cowan.
It's kind of unusual to have the NDP leader going across talking about good things from a Liberal government budget. So why is it that you felt the need to come out and talk about things like dental care, for example, that were in this budget?
We wanted people to know, one, that it's available, that it's going to be there for them. And for a lot of people, it gives them hope. For folks that have not been able to look after their teeth, who've been living in pain, we're letting them know that this is going to come by the end of this year. If you're a senior, children 18 and under are going to, and people living with disabilities are going to be able to look after their teeth. And it's something that would not have happened but for the fact that New Democrats forced the government to do it. So it is unique in that it's in a budget, but it's something that we fought for, and we can point to when the Liberals voted against this very same plan just 2 years ago, and now we made it happen because of our agreement where we wrote it in black and white in our agreement.
Yeah, because you've got kind of a unique situation where, you know, there are Liberal MPs for this province who are going around and promoting the fact that this is in the budget and saying, hey, look, we're delivering for you. At the same time, the NDP is saying, hold on a second, this is our thing. So I guess where does the credit lie on this?
Well, on this one is really clear because we've got some really good evidence. We can show that this exact same plan we presented twice in Parliament 2 years ago, and each time the Liberals and the Conservatives voted against it. And now, when we force the government with an agreement where we put it into writing, it's happening. We can show really clearly that this would never have happened but for the fact we forced them to do it. So on this one, it's pretty clear. And sometimes it's hard to prove when things happen and how they happen. This one we can show really concretely. We made this agreement happen and we forced the government to deliver.
I want to ask you a bit about the NDP in this province. In the last election, the seat that was held by Jack Harris, who was an NDP MP for quite a few years, went Liberal. So you don't have any MPs anymore. What do you need to do to convince Newfoundlanders and Labradorians that the NDP is an option and to elect someone from your party in the next election?
Yeah, I think we have to show Newfoundlanders and Labradorians the benefit of voting New Democrat. What do you get out of it? Well, we can show them really concretely. You voted for folks that voted for us in the 2019 and 2021 election knew that our campaign ran on bringing in dental care. Well, now, even though we're not in government, we made it happen. So we deliver results, and we can show that.
One of the issues, though, in this province is we're an oil and gas producer. There are lots of people whose jobs are tied to that industry, either locally or perhaps flying back and forth to Alberta. How much, though, does it hurt you with your position on pushing that transition away from oil and gas in a province where a lot of people still rely on those oil and gas jobs for their income?
Well, I would say first and foremost, we are a workers' party. So we believe in making sure workers are protected and looked after. We know that the reality is, and workers feel this on the ground, that there is a certain shift that's happening because of the climate crisis, because of the changing global markets and different decisions that companies are making, that we need to be ahead of the curve to make sure we've got good jobs here for the long term. So we're absolutely going to need the workers in the short term, but those workers deserve to know that there's a plan that creates a job for them forever, for a long time. And we know that the only way we can do that is if we make the right investments. So that's why, for example, when we said we want to see investments in some of the future technologies and future jobs here in Newfoundland and Labrador and across the country, we want to make sure those investments are tied to good wages and good jobs. And that's something that we can do as New Democrats. So to those workers that work in the oil and gas sector, we need you, you're important, but we also want to make sure that you've got a job that's not just secure for the next couple of years, but we want to make sure you've got jobs for the next 20, 30, 40 years. How do we do that? With the right investments.
But I guess the issue is, how much does government kind of force the end of that industry? And I think there's a lot of people who feel like even the Liberals right now are doing too much to try and, end oil and gas exploration, development, things that could lead to more projects and that industry to be viable for longer.
Well, I would look at it like, what is in the best interest of the worker? And if we know that there's a lot of volatility in this market, there's been a lot of busts and booms, I think workers require and deserve to know there's some stability. When we know that all the major car manufacturers are moving towards electric vehicles, we need to see the writing on the wall and make sure we're making investments where we don't miss out on those new opportunities and those new jobs. So I want to make sure that government does the job it is supposed to do. Look at the future. Where is the world headed? Where are economies headed? And where are opportunities being set up, and make sure that we're not missing out on those opportunities. It's less that we want to direct where things go versus we know where things are going, and we need to make sure that we're prepared for it and the workers are prepared for it.
Well, Jagmeet Singh, thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you.
April 2nd is World Autism Awareness Day. A new Neuro defense program in Paradise aims to help young people with autism and ADHD focus their mind, body, and spirit through martial arts. Have a look.
jab, cross. Nice. Nice.
Both instructors have used karate to overcome their own challenges. Jim Flood developed the Neuro defense program using his 46 years of experience in martial arts. He competed in 5 world championships and was also a coach for Team Canada. But in 2005, he suffered a severe brain injury in a head-on collision. He was told he'd never walk or talk again.
When I first woke up, they told my wife to sell my businesses. I'd no longer be able to walk, talk, do all of the stuff that I used to be able to do. She was 6 months pregnant at the time with my child, right? So that was a shock to her. But thankfully, after 3 years, I was able to walk again, talk again, and obviously I'm teaching again. So it's been a happy story.
Co-instructor Victoria Jackman practiced karate as a child, but only recently returned to the sport after requiring surgery just 8 weeks ago to relieve pressure on her brain.
I'm using it as part of a way of rehabilitating from a brain surgery that I had just 8 weeks ago. So it's been incredible to be back. Now I'm getting some firsthand experience on how this can help people with neurological conditions, neuro-based conditions, and neurodevelopmental disorders as well. So that's what brings me to neurodefense, a passion for neurodiversity and also for my own rehabilitation as well.
We spoke with Jim and Victoria about why they feel karate can have a positive effect on a child with autism or ADHD.
Remember, karate's built around body, mind, and spirit. So that's an integral part of karate. The fitness aspect of it, that's a very important component because you're not only working out your body, but it's been proven now that fitness actually stimulates the mind. It releases endorphins. It makes learning memory much better if you're in better shape and you're getting that nice fitness workout. So we incorporate that. We incorporate the meditation, the mindfulness.
Incredible psychological, physical, and social benefits. So from a psychological standpoint, we can see the confidence. There's kids that the first day they hung out in the back with their parents, which we're totally welcome and open to do. We want kids to take this at their own pace. It's very important. And now they're the loudest kid in the room. You know, they're coming in, they're doing their jab punch. Sometimes they'll come up in front of the class and also help lead the classes with us. So that's been incredible just to see kids come out of their shell. They know that this is a space that is non-judgmental. It's a safe space. It's a space where we're working to accommodate and make it accessible. So that's been incredible. Socially, the friendships that have bloomed amongst the kids is really powerful. We're having parents say that my kids don't have any friends at school, and now they have a community.
It is an individual activity where they can control how hard they work, how hard they push themselves, but we encourage that socialization because there's other kids in the class and we have them working with each other. Because they're doing, I'm going to say it's a cool sport right now, right, it's more acceptable to them. They all want to do it. And that's one of the reasons that I think it's being so popular because it's not your traditional thing.
There's also a sensory motor aspect. So sensory integration is very difficult for a lot of the kids. Loud noises, bright lights, their balance, there could be coordination issues. And we're seeing a difference in that already. Each class, somebody can, all of a sudden their hand is meeting the target, which they couldn't do just a few classes ago. So just on the biopsychosocial realm, everything is holistically expanding and it's amazing to see. It's an absolute honor and privilege.
Well, CBC Radio's The Signal hit the road Friday to host the show from Central. More than 300 students from 13 communities go to Clarenville High. Host Adam Walsh spoke with some of those students about their school's focus on wellness, as well as some teachers about their new school style of teaching.
Recently, we stopped classes for one full morning, and every student in the school was given an appointment time with a teacher, one-on-one, and just have a chat, make a connection. It wasn't meant necessarily to be an academic thing about their grades or marks, just again, what's on your mind, what do you like, what don't you like, or just a chat about yourself and what are some of your hobbies or your interests. And just, in the busy runs day in, day out, you might not get to stop and talk to everybody, so it's a chance to connect maybe next time, recess time, so hey, we were talking about, you know, you like hockey or a certain show or whatever. It's a chance to, you know, that stuff continues and that connection is a little stronger, and everybody gets a chance.
Every Wednesday, or every last Wednesday of the month,
Last Wednesday of the month,
we have Wellness Wednesday. So on that day, as the last bell rings, everyone leaves the school. No one stays at the school for anything. We go straight home. We don't do homework. We just relax and do something that goes into wellness. Normally, during Wellness Wednesdays, I will just go home and relax on my couch with my cats.
One of the things that we've looked at is trying to get the kids to focus on their strengths and their weaknesses, and instead of their mark and what that means. You know, what can they do to learn more about what they've got wrong, and how can they fix their mistakes. So I call it on-grading. About 3 years ago, I read a book about on-grading, about some different ways to give assessment back to students, and you don't have a grade on the top of your paper. So you have written feedback there. I use a highlighter, so I got a lot of colorful highlighters in my desk, and I just look at their paper, and if they have something wrong, I just highlight the question. And then when I give it back to them, I ask them, what did you do wrong? Where's your mistake? Can you explain how you could do it differently the next time? Instead of getting them to be like, what, 2 out of 3? What did I lose a mark for?
Students from grades 7 to 12 from the Eastern region took part in a science fair over the weekend. The 2023 Synovus Energy Science and Technology Fair was held at the Marine Institute in St. John's on Saturday. Here now's Henrika Wilhelm went to check out some of the projects. Have a look.
We've had a physical fair since 1982, so we've been sending students from Eastern Newfoundland to the Canada-wide Science Fair, which is the national competition since then. We're back to in-person fair for the first time now, this is in 4 years, so we're pretty excited about that. And we have about 115 projects, over 130 students participating. And we're always excited to see the students and what they can do and what they discover. And they're so excited to share what they've learned with everyone else.
So I have students grades 10 to 12, and they were interested in a variety of projects, and that's the really great thing about Science Fair. They get to choose their project. So they're interested in, okay, let's look at climate change. They look at water quality. Some of them are interested in physics and mechanics, so they're looking at how engines work and how to maximize your engine. So there's a lot of different projects. The kids are really keen.
My project, High Fat versus Low, is where we had taken 8 food products. 4 of them were like the same product. So we had a regular Ruffles and like a low-fat Ruffles and similar products such as. And we had dissolved it in acids so that only the fat would remain. And then we compared it to see if it actually was healthier for you. I picked this project because a lot of people that I know, they suffer with diabetes, type 1 or type 2, and a lot of other people that I know have health issues, especially older people in my family. I wanted to take a project that could be applied to everybody in everyday life and just, really research what is better for you and what isn't. Being a part of Science Fair is super, super important. It allows me to connect with youth and be like a part of community outreach for something that I'm passionate about, which is science.
We give out scholarships, we give out cash prizes, we give out medals, and it's an excellent thing to have on their resume. So it's important to learn those skills, those communication skills, collaboration skills, problem-solving skills, but there's so many benefits to completing Science Fair projects, and they should all be really proud of their projects and all the work they put into them.
Well, congratulations to everyone who took part. Well, speaking of the importance of science, NASA has revealed the 4 astronauts who will fly around the moon next year. The first lunar crew in 50 years will include the first woman, the first African American, and the very first Canadian.
He is a Master of Science in Physics, an F-18 pilot, and a Canadian astronaut. Your mission specialist, Jeremy Hansen. Ladies and gentlemen, your Artemis II crew.
Yeah, that was a 47-year-old Jeremy Hansen. He'll join the other 3 on NASA's Artemis II mission. They'll be strapped inside the Orion capsule atop a massive space rocket when it launches in late 2024. The 10-day lunar mission involves orbiting the moon before returning to Earth. Now, the success of that moonshot will usher in the next big step, returning humans to the surface of the moon in 2 years. And astronaut Jeremy Hansen says one of the main reasons a Canadian is going to the moon is the country's can-do attitude.
Decades now, literally thousands upon thousands of Canadians have risen to that challenge to bring real value to the international partnership with respect to space exploration, to bring real solutions. Our scientists, our engineers, the Canadian Space Agency, the Canadian Armed Forces, across government, all of our leadership working together under a vision to take step by step, and all of those have added up to this moment where a Canadian is going to the moon with our international partnership, and it is glorious.
Well, this is probably one of the most adorable first signs of spring. I'm going to bring you to a farm here in Kilbride. It's lambing season that's coming up.
before we bring in Ashley for the forecast, let's talk changing seasons. It's a busy time for local farmers. On-the-go host Anthony Germain visited a Kilbride farm recently where lambing season is underway.
Well, that adorable lamb is one of quite a few, and there will be many, many more at Maury's Double Diamond Farm here in Kilbride. Howard Maury is the latest Maury to be in charge here. And I guess I'll ask you, so you're going to be busy pretty soon.
Absolutely. Starting in about 10 days from now, we got about 50 breeding sheep that will be ready to start popping lambs.
So when they start popping lambs, you put how busy do you get?
Well, you want to keep an eye on us. Sometimes you get a little bit of sleep deprivation, but usually want to check on them every 4 hours or thereabouts.
So what's it like having to get up at all hours of the night? And I'm assuming that they don't convenient to say, okay, well, Howard needs his beauty rest, so we'll wait till the morning.
No, they have no respect for my time at all. Usually they'll lamb at the most inopportune times, but it's nice to come down at 3 a.m. and see everything's in good order and they're just lay down chewing their cud and no action, no activity. That's a good sign.
Well, I guess given the number of sheep that you have, some of these births must happen simultaneously, right?
Absolutely. There are times when we have maybe 2 or 3 sheep lambing at the same time.
Well, how do you handle that?
Well, you know, hopefully the sheep will take care of it all on their own, but sometimes you have to intervene and help them along, you know.
I guess sometimes there's complications, right?
Absolutely, yeah. In normal circumstances, the lamb will present with their nose and their 2 front hooves together, almost shaped like an arrow coming out. And if everything's going well, then the sheep will have the lamb no problem. But sometimes, with particularly with new mothers, new sheep, the first-time lambers, they sometimes have more trouble lambing, and you may have to intervene. Sometimes help them along.
Now, Matt, you've been involved with enough of this lambing to have a sense of what happens. So when they come out, how long is it before a lamb actually starts walking around?
Not long at all. So once the lamb is born, the mother will clean off their nose, and once they catch their breath, they're on their feet and drinking, usually within 5 or 10 minutes if it's a healthy lamb. So not long at all.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to say this with your dad here, but do you ever get attached to them and think, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's natural. I mean, we're human, and they're pretty cute, those little lambs. So we do get attached to some, hopefully get attached to a ewe, and I mean, there's been several instances where we'll keep them maybe against your better judgment, but you get attached to those bottle lambs, and anyways, there's lots of them here around us.
All right, I'll give the last word to your father. So basically, this is these sheep, are they for wool or for meat or a bit of both?
Mainly for meat. There's very little market for wool, unfortunately, and hopefully that will improve, you know, in future years, whatever. More and more people are getting into wearing wool products these days, and it's a very environmentally friendly product, so hopefully people will start using wool a little bit more. But it is mainly a meat product.
And you're going to take your animals, as I remember, to some island, right? Because there's coyotes here in Kilbride.
Absolutely, there are coyotes here, all over Newfoundland for that matter. But they seem to have developed a taste for lamb, but because they're in our area in great numbers. There's a couple of trappers here in the area that, well, they've gotten. I know in 2021, the guy that we deal with, he traps on our land. He got 13 that year.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So when will these little cute animals, as they get bigger and bigger, when will the livestock be taken off to the island?
Usually around the end of May, early June, we'll ship them off to the islands, and they'll go on their summer holidays, and so will we.
Well, the weekend was nice as far as sunshine is concerned, at least here in eastern Newfoundland, but things are going to get a bit more unsettled for the remainder of the week. We do have a few flurries by the time we head into tomorrow evening that will continue, and then we see another round of flurries move in as we head through the day on Wednesday, especially for coastal areas, for the west coast, and especially in those higher elevations, and then coastal areas of Labrador will see some snow as well through the day on Wednesday. However, we should see that clear as the day goes on. So temperatures as we head into Wednesday will sit a little bit below 0 across the west coast, around there for central and then eastern Newfoundland. You should stay above 0 by a degree or 2. And then across Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures below 0 as well. Again, some sunshine, but the coast you will see some snow through the day. Now, as we head into Wednesday evening and Thursday, we should see a calm start to the day. However, our next weather makers moving in, we'll see snow across Labrador, and then into Thursday evening and early Friday morning, that's when things are going to start to change. So for the island, you should actually see a beautiful day on Thursday, lots of sunshine, or at least some cloudy periods for the west coast, but for the most part, you will see the sunshine, and we should see temperatures between 1 and about 4 degrees. Now, depending on how much sun we see, these temperatures could bump up a degree or 2 in some areas. And then Labrador, again, that snow, temperatures will sit in the minus single digits, just barely for you. Now, taking a look at the long-range forecast, there is a warm-up as we head into Friday. As that system moves in, although a little bit of disagreement in this case so far, but we could see either showers or flurries through the day, but those temperatures should be well above 0 at about 6. And then for Saturday, at this point, looking at about +1 and the chance of flurries. Again, every time we see snow this time of year, the good news is it does not last for long. Now for central Newfoundland, you're looking at warm up as well. Looks around 8 degrees for you for Friday. Saturday flurries will be the story in about 1. And then for western Newfoundland, about 5 degrees through the day on Friday, it looks like at this point. And Saturday, you're looking at your temperatures hovering around 0 degree mark. Now for eastern Labrador, by the time we get to the weekend, it does look unsettled. And then for western Labrador, a different story. Your temperatures will sit in the minus single digits, and you're actually looking at some sun for your Saturday. Now, speaking of beautiful landscapes, just take a look at this. This is Sims Brook. Rob shared this shot with us. And if you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, because I'm sure there'll be lots, send them to my Facebook page, Twitter. Best place, though, is nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that is a great shot.
Anytime you see that blue sky.
And the mountains in the background.
And then the snow.
Just
beautiful.
Lovely. All right, well, that's it for us on this Monday evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope to see you again tomorrow.
Good night.